Hi everyone, hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. In this live video, I want to talk about 5 things that happen to women in abusive relationships and make it a little bit harder for them to exit these relationships. So just give me 1 second. I want to share this inside my Facebook group. And if you have not yet joined my Facebook group, make sure you do that because I'm always sharing lots of trainings about emotional resilience and also about feminine leadership. So don't miss out on all the juiciness happening inside of Powerful Feminine Leaders Facebook group. If you can hear me, let me know, please. All right. So, being in an abusive relationship starts at the basis of our own conditional programming, our own societal conditioning and cultural programming. So, women carry generational wounds from, hundreds of years of oppression against women that this kind of conditioning, this kind of programming is deeply embedded inside our subconscious mind. It is also part of our DNA as well. And so this is one of the reasons why it becomes a little bit harder for us to exit these kinds of relationships, because according to our culture, we hear it a lot. People tell us, if we are experiencing any kind of abuse from men, we would definitely hear others tell us, men are just like that. Don't expect your man to co-parent. It's your job as a mom to handle everything that when it comes to raising the kids. It's solely your responsibility. And some men, deem themselves superior to women just because they are men, and this is part of their own cultural programming. And so this plays out in the dynamic in the abusive relationship, that men perceive themselves as superior and we perceive ourselves as inferior. And so it reinforces that normalization of abusive relationships. So we think that it is normal for us to experience abuse in relationships because men are just like that, and they are allowed to do that. It's part of their nature, and we're supposed to be carrying the yoke. So this has been our idea of what a woman's role in a relationship is. Long time ago, we hear our grandmas saying these words, or our moms saying these words, that it's our responsibility as a woman to carry the yoke in the relationship. And the yoke is the thing that is placed on the neck of the ox to plow the earth. And so they mean by it the weight of experiencing something that does not, we do not accept, the weight of experiencing something that we have to kind of adapt to the fact that we have to just bear the fact that relationships are just like that. We are going to be exposed to abuse. And for example, in my culture, women, they always hear this, women can handle emotional labor more than men. So they can bear and they should, you know, accept or condone the abuse. Just because it is part of your makeup, you know. Can you imagine the amount of bullshit that we have to hear to justify being in an abusive relationship? Also in my culture, and I bet, you know, in many other cultures as well, women are pushed to believe that God is going to punish them or curse them if they do not obey their husbands, or they do not act up to the expectation of the husband. And this includes having to condone and accept abuse from their men. And so this also is still apparent until this day in the what we hear about the twin flame dynamic. You know, it's so ingrained in that culture of the twin flame that we all the time hear that, you know, it's a woman's job to, you know, hold that vision of the couple and to like not be triggered by the fact that, you know, your twin flame, your counterpart, is not as conscious as you are, or does not want you. And so we keep on justifying all this BS, all this disrespectful behavior from men, and we, you know, for different reasons, we color the justification in different colors. And so first it was, you know, the cultural conditioning of, you know, men being superior and women, you know, their job is to carry the yoke. And, you know, now it takes a different form. Now it is, you know, it's that twin flame dynamic, and you have to, you know, it's your job as the divine feminine to, you know, you awaken first, and then, you know, then it is the man's job to awaken later, because you're able to hold that vision and you're able to stay in hopes that he will come back to you, or he will one day realize that he's treating you in a bad way, or he's being abusive. And so I call out BS on all of that. And because of that, because of all of that cultural programming, at some point we don't know as women that there exists another reality where balanced, healed, masculine men who are not abusive, who don't need to be abusive, can be partners in healthy relationships. We don't know what a healthy relationship is. We are told that it is super normal to experience abuse. And so I cannot expect from a woman who has been conditioned for so long to realize that she is in an abusive relationship and to want to break free. She doesn't know there is another way. She doesn't know that her husband is supposed to co-parent with her. It's been planted in her head that it's solely the woman's job, and he can only evaluate her performance, right? Because he is superior. He doesn't do anything wrong because he's a man, just because of the fact that he is born male. And so she has seen this, she has experienced it herself, she has seen this with her mom, with her sisters, she has seen this, you know, generationally. So this is the reality to her. I cannot expect her to see another reality because it does not exist for her, that reality. Because if you're raising a child and you tell the child that this color is white, the child is going to grow up calling this white. And so we cannot expect this child to at some point realize that this is black just because, you know, someone else is saying that. This is one of the reasons why women continue to be in abusive relationships. Because of all of that, you know, conditioning, they don't realize it's an abusive relationship. This is number one. Number two, their childhood trauma. You know, how their upbringing, how they were raised. Um, when our caregivers are not there to give us all our needs, our emotional needs, our needs to be supported, to be valued, to be seen, to be cared for, but they only connect to us when, let's say, we are misbehaving, right? And we're doing something wrong, that they give us their attention. And so we call that the negative attention. And so, you know, kids start sometimes acting out so that they can get that kind of attention, because to them, to their brain, this is connection. And because of all of that, the brain forms this belief that this is attention, this is connection, this is love. And so as we grow up, we start looking for partners who are abusive, because they equal the familiar that we have been raised within. To the brain, this is familiar, then this is safe. Whatever is familiar for the brain, it is safe. And so it's not easy for us to break free from this safe, right? Another thing is, you know, because of all this childhood trauma, we cannot see this abusive relationship as a faulty relationship, right? It constitutes, according to our brain, it constitutes all the variables of, you know, connection and love. Number three, and because, you know, because of that trauma, it has been planted inside of our subconscious mind that you know, this is the familiar, and so it becomes very hard for us to break free. Number three is the trauma bonding cycle. And this happens when we enter the relationship with an abuser. At first, it's the honeymoon phase where everything is just going perfectly well and we fall in love with this person. But then the abuse starts, but we keep on addicted to the feelings that we experience in the first phase, the honeymoon phase. And so it keeps us attached in this relationship. It keeps us stuck in the relationship on the hope that we are coming back to these moments where, you know, we experience the love, where we experience the support from them. And so it keeps us stuck in that relationship. We're not able to see that they are abusive relationships, that these are abusive relationships. So it becomes super hard for us to exit this relationship, because to the brain, you're going to exit this, or to the nervous system, you're going to exit this cycle that is feeding this addiction with these chemicals, because every feeling we experience on the inside equals to the nervous system a chemical, right? And so because we got addicted to the chemicals released inside of our bloodstream during the honeymoon phase of the relationship, we remain in the relationship to get to that cycle, to that part of the cycle where we can experience these chemicals released again in these in our bloodstream, because the abuser is not like 100% of the time abusive. They you know, sometimes they're good with us, and so we continue being on in the relationship, because, you know, we only focus on these fleeting moments of love, of connection, and we kind of exaggerate them, and we see the relationship based on these fleeting moments. We turn the blind eye on the abuse. And so also because the abuser is reprogramming us to believe that they are being very good to us, they're being very supportive. And so you would normally hear women who are in abusive relationship, they would not tell you that they are they are in an abusive relationship. They say, you know, he's a very good man, he supports me, you know, it's probably my fault, because this is what the abuser says, it's always the woman's fault, right? So it's always the abuser's fault, the victim's fault. And so we're always wanting to change ourselves to please the abuser. Number 4 is how the ego identifies with this part of our story. So we start when the ego identifies with a part of our story, it becomes exclusively this identity. For example, if I have been an orphan, and so the ego will identify with the fact that I am an orphan, with the experience that in which I am an orphan, or I am the divorced woman, and so my ego is going to identify with the experience of the divorce, that I cannot see myself as something else. And so in the abusive relationship, the ego would identify as me being the victim of the abusive in the abusive relationship. And we can say that some women would I would hear some women say, no, my ego does not identify with. The thing is, the ego does not ask us for permission before it identifies with a certain part of our story. And whatever identity the ego creates around a certain experience, it becomes super hard for us to detach from that identity, because that would mean the death for the ego, and the ego is going to try everything it can to prevent that death. So because our ego identifies with that part of our story, it becomes even way harder for us to exit an abusive relationship. Also, another reason is they cannot trust people who tell them or who show them that this is an abusive relationship, because also there's a part of them that does not trust the abuser, and on that basis they have formed this belief that I'm not safe and I need to protect myself from others. And so they would think that the person who is kind of directing their attention towards the fact that this is an abusive relationship, they would try to avoid this person, because the concept of abusive relationship does not align with their own beliefs, with their subconscious programming, how they are programmed subconsciously. This is not an abusive relationship, and so they would rather stay away from those people. You would see them like an ostrich, bury their head in the sand, so that they alienate themselves from every source that shows them that they are in an abusive relationship, because again, it is not safe for them to realize that this is an abusive relationship, because of all of the reasons why their subconscious mind, all the parts of their subconscious mind and the conscious mind as well, believes that this is the normal relationship, this is the healthy relationship. And because of all of that, women are not capable of seeing the reality, because also let's remember that the abuser does certain acts in a way, or reprograms the victim to believe that their own perception of reality is distorted. So they cannot trust their own perspective of reality. They cannot trust their own opinions, their own views of what they see, because he would abuse, the abuser would abuse the victim, and then if she says I'm being abused, they would tell her, no, that's not true, I'm not abusing you, I'm loving you, this is not abuse, this is love. And so because of that, they become less trusting of their own evaluation of the situation. And so because of that as well, it becomes really hard for them to break from that cycle. Some women have less of these variables than others. For example, some women, in the way they are raised, they are given all the self-confidence and the self-esteem um, that they need, that even if they enter such an abusive relationship, there's a point where they realize, this is not um, what I want, and the conflict inside them, I know for me that the conflict inside of me between what I'm programmed to believe, okay, because in my culture we're taught that it's always my fault as a woman, and I have to, um, you know, um, change in ways that please the man, and men are just like that, and I'm supposed to carry the yoke. And so there's this conditioning, and then there's also my belief in myself and my self-esteem that were clashing. Sometimes I would silence the sound of my inner powerful feminine because I would be scared of her, because this is not safe for me. I have not experienced her before. She's telling me this is an abusive relationship and that I deserve better, but then my conditioning is telling me if I keep on thinking like that, I will end up single all my life, or if I leave my husband, I'm going to be cursed by God and the angels, and I'm going to bring disgrace for myself and for my family. And so there was this conflict between the conscious and the subconscious mind, until there's that moment where I felt, I miss myself. I miss the truth of who I am. And that was the point where I realized I had to break free. And every woman who has decided to break free from an abusive relationship have gotten to that point where she realized that, this isn't what I want. And I know that I deserve a lot better. And so she takes the action to break free. It doesn't mean that it's easier for her. It means that, she got to that point where she's able to muster all of that courage and power within her, to break free, to take that action, to either set boundaries or to even exit the relationship altogether. And so understanding all of these things and all of these reasons why it is not easy for women to exit abusive relationships, why it is not easy for women to see the reality of how they are being treated, that this is not right and that they deserve better, and that there are men out there who are not abusive, who are willing to support, to value, to love, to appreciate, and be a true partner to women. It doesn't serve us to blame them. And yes, they don't like being in that relationship, but because they experience the pain of being in such a relationship. But because of all of these reasons, it's not easy for them to exit the relationship. And so it definitely would help us to have more compassion to these women, to realize that they would be needing support even amidst these relationships, until they can find it within themselves, when they could come to that moment of peace within, that they're taking this decision and they're not going back. So I hope that I have cleared some confusion about why some women cannot exit an abusive relationship. What are the reasons that lead us to entering an abusive relationship, and why it is hard for us. If you are a woman who is in an abusive relationship, this would be happening to you. This would give you an idea of why it is not easy for you, but it is definitely not impossible. It is definitely doable if this is what you want. And so if you would like to have the support that you need in order to heal from any past relationships, this is what I have done for myself. Exiting an abusive relationship, I had to do a lot of healing, and this is the healing that I give to my clients, healing the past experiences, the negative experiences, and then reprogramming the subconscious mind into embodying the powerful feminine that we are. And also empowering these women with tools and techniques. It's not just, learning a new idea or a change of thought, because that's not enough for healing. You have to have practical, tangible tools and techniques that allow you to experience that healing on a very high level. To heal emotionally, mentally, energetically, even, that is very important and a big part of my work as well. So if you want to learn more about my coaching program, I'm going to leave the link to my scheduler so that you can you can access the scheduler through that link and book your free strategy session, so that you and I can talk more about how my coaching program can help you if you are if you have exited an abusive relationship. Because what happens is that if we don't heal from such a relationship, we will have there's a lot of chance that we are going to get into another abusive relationship, because we need to do a lot of cleaning to the subconscious and to the nervous system, so that we're able to enter better, healthier relationships, to know how to act according to our truth, according to what our inner feminine deserves and desires. So, like I said, I'm going to leave the link to my scheduler, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Thank you.